I hope everyone see us and hear us. If you have problems with that, please write to chat. Greetings to everyone. And today we gathered here to see a webinar dedicated to organizational mushroom harvesting on a mushroom farm with Andriy Gladkih. Andriy already with us, and I will do a short introduction. Our speaker today is Andriy Gladkih, as I said. He is an expert with more than 20 years of experience in mushroom cultivation, harvesting, and managing mushroom farm. And I'm pleased to announce that today we have, for this webinar, registered people from 30 countries, so we have quite good attendance. Our webinar today will last about an hour. Part of this, around 30 minutes, will take Andrey's presentation, and afterwards we will be able to ask him questions. While we are waiting for everyone to join, let me shortly introduce UMDIS partners, companies that supporting UMDIS, and thanks to them we have an ability to create events like this. This is so you see my screen here now. These are Christian's group. Christians is a global leader in providing innovative solutions for mushroom farm and composting yards. They were also the first company in the market to have all disciplines within the company, covering everything from engineering and construction to implementation and service. And you probably know about this leader of mushroom market. GrowTime, a company, GrowTime Engineering. This is commercial mushroom farm equipment supplier, and GrowTime is well known because they specialize in manufacturing durable and efficient picking lorries and trolleys for mushroom farms. And thanks to high quality of those lorries and their solution, they really increase efficiency of harvesting on mushroom farms and profitability of mushroom farms in the end. GrowTime also sells aluminum shelving, lighting, growing nets, scales, knives, and other equipment for mushroom farm. And another company, Agro Project, general construction for mushroom farms and compost yards. Agro Projects is experts in the technologically advanced design of facilities for the industrial cultivation of mushroom. The company helps new clients to design and build their mushroom farms and compost yards from scratch. And for the clients already in the industry, Agro Projects offers many effective and modern technological solutions. So thank you to all our supporters. And let me stop. And before we begin, I'd like to remind you that just in a couple of weeks, UMDIS will be holding 2 training sessions in Poland on big, very good modern mushroom farm FUNGUS S.C. near Poznan. From February 3rd until February 5th, we will have 3-day course with Andriy Gladkih on the topic of organizational mushroom harvesting. You will learn straight in a farm how this farm organizes it and what is the best practices to organize mushroom harvesting. it's very important now. This is why we choose this topic for today and for our training in Poland from the 3rd until 5th of February. And then a week after, from 11th until 13th of February, we will, on the same farm, we will have a course on mushroom cultivation with Wojtek Konieczny, a very good, well-known expert in the field. He consults many farms in Poland, and results are perfect. And after this webinar, I will send to your emails to everyone links to those courses, and I want to announce that to participants of this event, we will have special discount. You will get it on my email. So let's get started. Andriy, please tell a couple of words about yourself, and we are looking forward to see your presentation.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Max. My name is Andriy Gladkih. I do have over 20 years experience in mushroom industry, running large-scale operations across Europe. Today, we're going to talk about harvesting. Of course, the subject is quite big, and I hope nobody expects that in 1 hour we'll be able to learn all the aspects of harvesting. This is just enough to scratch the surface and probably raise a few questions and look at some key aspects and elements. Of course, robotics just around the corner. We hear it every year for probably 10 years now. And as it stands today, 90% of mushrooms are still picked by hand for the fresh market. So it is picking and managing of people that is at the core of mushroom industry. So let's look at the picking. What are the factors that affect picking? Of course, this list is not exhaustive. And one of the key factors which is missing here, I'm sure you all noticed, it's the sales.
Andriy, we don't see your presentation, sorry.
Excuse me. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So picking, at the core of this is picking, and there are various factors that are affecting picking. As I said, one of the major factors which is missing here is sales. The market you are supplying to will have a major effect on sizes you can pick, quality you can get away with, and overall efficiency and profitability of your business. Why it's not here? This subject is almost too big. It needs to be looked at separate. But most of the time, it is limited amount of effect we can have on the market we're supplying to. So here, we're just trying to discuss the aspects that we can do something about. So, which one of these factors is the most important? Let's just take a moment for everybody to have a quick look and decide for themselves. Somebody will say equipment, somebody will say motivation, growing. And the true answer is there is no right or wrong answer. In fact, all of these aspects work like planks in a wooden bucket. We can have fantastic growing, we can have beautiful equipment, but if all our aspects are not up to scratch, the end result will be guided by the weakest point. So instead of trying to develop one of these to perfection, we rather need to look at all of these aspects and make sure we bring them all up to a standard. Otherwise, yes, as I mentioned, we can have beautiful, wonderful equipment, top-notch growing, but if supervision is not up to scratch, if motivation is not there, we will have an uphill battle to get the good result. Me personally, I actually believe that one of the first factors, one of the most important, although they are all equally important, is motivation. I have, in recent few years, been working on a project where motivation was a significant problem. And without right motivation, it is very, very difficult to make any significant changes, to make progress, to introduce new standards. Of course, motivation, there are different types, and the pay, we have very few people working in mushroom industry, especially as pickers, who are working there for the love of mushrooms. Most are working for money. And prerequisite, our pay system needs to deliver the initial part of the motivation. What's the problem here? Of course, the good pay system incorporates performance-related incentives, bonuses, rewards. That is absolutely essential. The question we need to ask ourselves here and ask our workers, do they have a clear understanding how they're getting paid? Do they know what targets they need to hit? But I'm sure on all your farms that is in place. If we look at various types of motivation, another question we need to ask ourselves, are we utilizing all of the types? It is important to have a right pay in place, but on top of that, are we rewarding people? Are we praising people? Are we making them feel important? And ultimately, if we want to make sure all the types are in use, what we need to look at, if our picker comes to work and he wants to do a good job, wants to look after mushrooms and create nice beds and beautiful, nice mushrooms, do they do it because supervisor asked them to? Do they do it because manager told them to do so? Do they want to get money? And if we create right atmosphere and if we create right culture, ultimately that picker not only wants to be praised, not only wants to get money, but wants to do it for themselves. And that is the icing on the cake. When we look at the motivation system, we must be careful that we include everybody. We can have our pickers going hell for leather, picking as fast as they can, maximizing their beds. We can have our key personnel, supervisors doing their best, and management and everybody. But if we don't have porters, for example, on board, they can throw a big spanner in works. So when we look at the motivation, we must include everybody so the whole system works towards the same goal. Then you'll ask me, how about disease control? How can we motivate them? That is a good question, and there isn't a simple answer. I think we probably need to look for inspiration from the likes of Henry Ford. And maybe disease controllers need to be getting premiums for having less disease. And this and a lot of other topics, porters in particular, are not straightforward. That's something that requires quite a bit more time than we have today. And that is something we're obviously looking in quite fine detail at our course. Next is training. First question we need to ask ourselves, do we need a trainer? Of course, training is important. Everybody understands that. There are various aspects to training of mushroom pickers. And the question about whether you need a trainer or not, I think everybody needs to answer that for themselves. My view here is if you have a turnover, and most of mushroom businesses do have turnover. If you only have 2 or 3 people start in a month, you probably don't need a trainer. But if you have anything like 10 or more a month, then for sure you need somebody specially designated to that important position. Also, when you're choosing somebody for that position, you need to look for right skills. And yes, an experienced picker can probably show pickers what to do, but you need to be careful. That person needs to show them the best correct technique. Training people from the beginning into bad habits will cost you efficiencies. Trainer needs to be somebody who is patient, somebody who can teach, somebody who can show, and ideally somebody who can start the motivation, start what I call mushroom disease, that pickers want to pick more, want to create nice beds and produce beautiful, nice mushrooms. Is trainer and supervisor the same person? Most of farms think the same, but I don't agree. Supervisor has to have different skill set. Supervisor is actually somebody who will be pushing for getting right yield, somebody who will be motivating pickers to go faster, to leave right mushrooms, to pick right mushrooms. And the skill set of trainer and supervisor are actually different. So supervisor, and most of people select supervisor from experienced pickers. And like I said, I don't quite agree with this. They need to have slightly different qualities. They have to have ambition. They have to have leadership skills. People skills are more important than knowledge of picking. Drive is more important than years of experience and knowing what mushrooms need to look like. The energy. Why do I think that? I think it is relatively easy to train somebody to understand how the good bed needs to look like. Of course, to train a picker to be able to pick that the bed looks right takes quite a bit of time. But if you want to make a difference, if you really want to bring new standards and progress, you may as well bring supervisors from outside and train them into your right settings, and then you can improve and you can move the whole system in the right direction. Now, when we talk about training, of course, there is a huge amount of best practices. And the question here is, it's not a secret anymore. Everybody knows that you need to graze pick. Everybody knows you need to use passes. Everybody knows you need to use one-touch technique, keep moving, and so on and so forth. That is not a secret. The secret is your key personnel motivated enough to make sure all these best practices are implemented and followed day in and out. And that is the skill, and that is the question. Now, we can talk about ergonomics, which is another big subject. And I'm sure all of you can have a look at these pictures and within few seconds notice loads of problems. I'm sure none of this happens on your farms, but maybe somewhere on your neighboring farm or your competitors. Yeah, of course, we can all say the position is right, working in the wrong direction, equipment is not set up right. So what's the question here? Question here is, are your supervisors noticing this quite as fast? And more importantly, not only do they notice these problems, do they correct them fast enough? And the true answer is, you can see things like this every day on every farm, to a different extent. A slightly difficult one. We have somebody setting up their working place reasonably well. What's the problem here? I think if we look deep enough, maybe somebody's picking too many products at the same time. Is there any other problems here? Yeah, maybe the person is a little bit uncomfortable setting their grades too far away and having to stretch. So all of these little things are important, that our supervisors are motivated enough, are driven enough to make sure not only they notice these bad practices, but they quickly put them right. Okay, clamps. Everybody knows what the clamp is in mushroom industry. It's been talked about long and hard. We see the clamp. It was sorted out. What's the problem here? Well, it was sorted out too late. We didn't finish it yesterday, or we got to it a little bit late today. What's the problem? The problem is some of those mushrooms have been under stress, and of course, they're not going to grow into maximum size. They're going to be misshapen, and we will lose the quality. Next slide. What do we see on the left side? That's the beginning of the day. Again, we see some clumps here. Middle of the day, the pickers have tried to separate them out, have done reasonable job. What happened later? Supervisor was busy doing something, got distracted, got pulled to the meeting. What did picker do? Absolutely obliterated that area. Took all the mushrooms. And that happens very quick. So supervisor, of course, needs to be present at all times to provide instructions, to check the bets. And supervisor, if we seriously look at it, is the key person, is the foundation of management. In an ideal scenario, you want your supervisors to be the bad cops, driven by bonuses, driven by results. And you want your management to play good cops so they can balance. You almost want your supervisors pushing pickers too hard and have your manager to balance this. That way, you can get the best results. If we look at the basic structure, we have a manager at the top, and the picking structure, the absolute minimum contains a picking manager, supervisors, pickers, and porters. Of course, some places don't have porters at all. Question here, do we need a trainer? Do we not need a trainer? Like I said, everybody will have to answer that question for themselves. We go to a slightly bigger farm, and of course, due to complexities, due to the share size and amount of work, we definitely need a trainer here. And this is probably as simple and as workable as it's going to get. We can dream up loads of different positions, add them, but the reality is keep it simple, keep it workable, and it works. And that's probably the largest farm structure. And if it gets too big, the thing you do is you break the big farm into units, and each unit will have assistant manager or manager, doesn't matter how you call them, supervisors, trainers. And of course, there are some positions here that need to be allocated separately, product coordinator, quality control. That becomes just a bit too much for your management. Do you want to make it any more complicated? Of course you can. You can dream up as many positions as you want, but the end result is, like I said, keep it simple and workable. You want your supervisors driven by the result. You want your managers checking that supervisors are doing a good job, and keep it as simple as that. Okay. I think, learning from experience, this is the summary of what I believe a manager, a supervisor can do. You can try and spread the supervisor and have him looking after 30, 40 pickers. At the end of the day, you will start losing the quality of their work. They will simply not do something. It's a simple calculation. If supervisor has 20 pickers to look after, that's about 3 minutes per person per hour. And you definitely need that for them to be able to check their beds, to give them instructions, to check their quality, to make sure they're working in the right direction, and to plan their next move. What we have here is, it's a great help nowadays with technology, and our latest programs, latest management programs are allowing us to monitor people performance in real time, plan and organize, and capture loads and loads of information. This is one of the good examples that you have little avatars of people, and when you come to placing people, it's already nicely, conveniently available. And you can just stick them in the right place, and you can run reports and check that supervisor rotating people. Before you place people, you also want to take into consideration what are people capable of. And one of the factors and one of the parameters you want to look into is, by monitoring and having historical data, what can a picker cover in first flush? If you have that information, and you can call pickers 50 square meter picker, 60 square meter picker, have some other grading system, that will make your planning a lot easier. Also, it will allow pickers to maximize and reach their potential. And once we have the results, we can analyze and we can start asking ourselves question, well, who is the best picker here? Is it the picker who is picking the fastest? Is it the picker who is producing the best quality? I'm absolutely convinced the best picker is the picker who produces the most added value. In this case, it's the picker who is maximizing their beds and produces more kilograms per square meter. Of course, you cannot make that decision on a snapshot of one flush, but if you follow their performance and you see this trend, that's your best picker. And most advanced companies now are starting to measure this performance, measure yield per picker per flush, and start to produce bonuses for this. So, looking at this, I can easily imagine a lot of people will say that's just too much work. It's very difficult. There's loads of reasons why this wouldn't work. And I agree with that. That is difficult. There is loads of reasons why you can't. People move, people help each other, and loads more. But there's two things which support going ahead with this. First, you are rewarding people for something which is very tangible. If picker produces extra added value, you do want to reward that, because that way you align their interest with the interest of the company. And ultimately, picker makes a decision which mushroom to leave and which mushroom to die every few seconds. You want them on board. You want the whole system to be as convenient and as possible for picker to achieve a good result in terms of maximizing yield, in terms of maximizing quality. That way, their interests align with the interest of the company. And another good reason why you want to start looking into that, you may find enough reasons why not to do it, but your competitor may find a way, and that can give them a competitive advantage. Technology. I think it's safe to say that picking lorries nowadays are standard. And of course, they still require management, and you need to know how to utilize them, get the most out of them. And they can bring really good results. They can increase pick rates. They can actually improve quality, but you have to use them right. And what is right for picking lorries? Well, you simply minimize number of pick at a time. That goes without saying. Everybody knows that. But even a few years ago, it was okay to pick 3-4 products at a time. That wasn't a problem. Nowadays, you need to really look at whether it is possible to pick one product. And when I say one product, I actually mean one product, not one product and some accidents, not one product and second class. One product and do more passes. This way, we will let some mushrooms grow, increasing the yield. We will increase the presentation and uniformity of mushrooms in our finished product. And of course, there are other ways and there are other developments in mushroom industry. We have tilting shelves with belt systems. We have various systems helping us to identify the sizes of mushrooms. All of those can work and can give you an advantage. But still, it goes back to it's the people you need to work with. Mushroom industry, it's all about product, all about results, all about tasks. But it's the people who deliver those results. So as management, our efforts need to be put into people. And I will add something. We know propaganda works. It works in all sorts of good and bad ways. That is something we need to use. Preach the good practices, keep repeating them, have your key personnel repeating it non-stop, and that will deliver the result. In summary, we need to look at all aspects of picking, all factors that affect it. Zoom in as deep as possible, refresh and review it regularly, and constantly ask ourselves a question: can we do better? And most of the time, we'll conclude that we can, and we should. That's all for me today.
Thank you, Andriy. Thank you for very interesting presentation. And now we have time to ask questions. Please, please, you can switch on your microphones and video if you want, and ask Andriy questions.
Hi, Andriy. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
If I may. So just a bit of an introduction about myself. My name is Farhan. I own a buttermushroom farm in Pakistan, in Karachi. So I know you spoke a little bit about the techniques, or you basically just went over the techniques. You mentioned grace picking, one finger touch or something of that nature. So we are at the beginning level of our, I guess, harvesting journey. So if you could maybe go over some of the best practices when it comes to harvesting, that would be great.
Okay, when you start training people, there's one thing that I have learned over the years. It is more important to get your techniques right, to make sure people positioning is right. So they have to get their techniques right. They have to understand the sizes. They have to understand and you don't want to rush them, because once they pick up some bad habits, it's very, very difficult to get rid of them. As Japanese proverb saying, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. That goes very well with starting and training people from the beginning. Once they understand, once their technique is right, once their positioning is right, once they can organize their work in place, then you can ask them to go faster. And that will help them to go faster. So, what are the best ways to teach people? You start them something simple, start them in a second flash. Something very simple product. Start them with 2 mushrooms at a time. Don't even bother with one. Start them with 2 mushrooms. And if they have a problem with 2 mushrooms, ask them to have 3, then 2 will look easy. But they need to practice with 2 mushrooms for probably a week. And once they master that, start working on 3 mushrooms. So what's next? Once they have those techniques right, you can start introducing more and more complex things. You don't want them separating from day one. That will bore them to death and that will switch them off. Like I said, start them somewhere where they can pick, somewhere second or third flash, keep them there for a week. Second week, you can start introducing. Once they got their positioning, their bodies are getting used to it, then you can start introducing more and more complex things. And on about week 3, you need to introduce them to a bit of separation in first flash or reasonably pinned second flash. And that is that will take another big effort for people to see the results of their work. It is very important to keep them picking the same beds so they can see the result of their work previous day and benefit from doing a good job next day or rip whatever they've done wrong previous day. And really, 15-20 minutes isn't anywhere near enough to explain all the nitty-gritties of training. You probably need to have a trainer that understands, trainer who is patient, like I mentioned, and can really show people what to do. And just keep going around and showing, demonstrating, correcting their postures, their techniques nonstop. The technique itself, you actually start, if I can show it quickly, I'm sure I have videos about it. It's best to start with your little finger and you pick the easiest mushroom. The second mushroom you pick with your middle fingers, and the last you pick with your index finger and the thumb. That is proven to be the best technique. Is there anything specific you want to ask more?
No, I guess I think you pretty much covered the basics. So I think that's good for now. Yeah.
Thank you, Andriy. Lina, you have a question, please.
Yeah. Hi, Andriy.
Hi, Lina, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thank you for nice presentation, really very impressive. I have some questions about harvest technique, and for me it's very interesting your opinion. Currently we have trend that separation is significant to reduce picking speed. What do you think about this one?
Too much separation kills the picking speed?
Yeah. It's even not too much separation, technique separation. And too many farms decided don't use technique separation to increase picking speed. And for me, it's interesting your opinion. It's help for them, or how it's affect yields, how it's affect everything.
I think you have to almost separate first 2 days from your main flash. And first days, let's say day 2 is your main separation day. I suggest you forget about speed and you make sure the bed looks right. Because if you try to concentrate on speed too much, then you will compromise on your finished product, how the bed looks. And you have that for the rest of the flash. So you can do separation faster, and you can work on that. But if we say, oh, we don't want to separate, we'll skip it. Okay, you can do that if you have fantastic stagger, if you have plenty of generations, that will come naturally. But if you pinned your beds well, make sure you separate them well. Otherwise, you can end up with very, very difficult peaks on day 3 and 4. You will lose quality, and overall, you will lose more than you gain. So I think, especially if your beds are pinned well, is critical. And worry about the quality of work, not the speed, especially on day 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Linus. Thank you, Andrei.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Okay, I have another very short presentation, and I want to tell you about our courses again. So please, I will switch on screen sharing. This is a photo from our recent courses with Lina Turovska, who just asked this question, in Poland, and we do those courses couple of times a year, harvesting courses. And as I already said, our next harvesting courses will be in a couple of weeks' time on this new modern, very good farm near Poznan in Poland. Courses will be in 2 languages. I will tell which one which. Here we have Demian Marciniak. He is an owner of this farm, and here's his short invitation to these courses.
Sound?
No sound?
No sound, sorry.
One moment. We'll try to fix it. Okay, I don't know how to fix it. We will go without sound. And first, we will have from 3rd until 5th February, as I said, courses with Andriy, our today's speaker, and those 3-day courses will be devoted completely to harvesting organization. Andriy will say a couple of words about these courses in the end of today's webinar, but in general, it will be about harvesting technique, about motivation, about planning, reporting, farm structure, etc., etc. For 3 days, we will stay on the farm, Fungus, and we will go through all this organizational things for mushroom harvesting, partly in a class, partly straight in the rooms. We will check, we will study separation techniques, we will study harvesting techniques, and main program will be about organization, structure, motivation, etc. And week after, from 11th until 13th of February, we will have amazing growing course with Wojtek Konieczny, and this course will be devoted not to harvesting, but to growing. We will learn about growing condition, working with casing soil, caking, watering, case run, and all other stages of mushroom growing. And these courses, this course will happen on the same farm, Fungus, in Poland. So there are already some participants that will participate in both courses. And for those who participate in both courses can join us 10th of February, we will organize visit to Phase 4 compost yard. And also in this course of Wojtek, we will have a visit on compost yard of Fungus farm. They have their own compost yard. So we will start actually with this short tour on the compost yard, and then we will spend 3 days studying mushroom growing with Wojtek Konieczny in Polish and in English. And first course with Andriy will be in Russian and English. Growing courses 11th, 13th of February, and Andriy courses from 3rd until 5th of February. And for participants of today's webinar, we have amazing offer. We offer you 30% discount, so you can pay only 850 euros instead 1200 for 3-day courses, including lunches and all program. So this is actually finish of my short presentation, and I invite everyone to participate in those 2 courses in Poland in February. Is there any other questions for Andriy? I see a question in chat: how to evaluate the quality of picking?
Okay, that's a very good question. Of course, you have to take into account what is your target market. If we look at the quality of product, if we look at the quality of our picking, one of the things you need to do is compare yourself to industry standards. You need to compare yourself to, as much as you can, to your nearest farms, to your competitors. And basically, there are some indicative KPIs like kilograms per ton of compost. That's probably one of the most important. Kilograms per square meter, percentage of quality mushrooms. So it is basically down to figures. That's the starting, and the road to perfection is endless.
Okay, and in the end, I would like to ask Andriy to tell a little bit more about courses that he will be having in a couple of weeks' times from 3rd of February in Poland, what they will be about.
So basically, the course is about picking and all various aspects that play a role in having effective system. So we start with the picking techniques and the latest development, ergonomics, how to train, how to choose the trainer. We will look at motivation for every group of workers and how to come up with a system that does deliver the result. We will look in detail at equipment and how to use it. We will look at the forecasting and the role that plays in planning and organization. We will also talk about cooperation between growing and picking. That's one of the major relationships that will play a huge role and have a huge impact on your end result, and how to deal with growers. Also, we will look at sales, as I mentioned. It's not that much we can do, but there are some things we can do to improve our relationship and to optimize as much as we can the way we pick and the end product and our efficiencies, utilizing the specs, utilizing the quality allowances. Each of those subjects is huge and requires quite a bit of time. So we'll zoom in into details and try and identify the best practices and latest developments. We'll also talk about the equipment, latest developments in the industry, and more importantly, I think at the end of the course, I hope everybody will have a set of questions they can go back and ask of their production. Are they as good as they can be? And have some ready solutions for some difficult questions. So essentially, it's a complete guide to effective picking.
Thank you very much, Andriy. Okay, we fit exactly in time we planned for today. I want to thank again to our supporters, Christian's group, Grow Time Engineering and Agro Projects. Thank you for participation. After this meeting, I will send you a link to recording of this webinar in case you want to watch it again. And also, as I promised, I will send you links to special offer for participation in Andrej's and Wojtek courses in Poland in February. Thank you very much. Thank you, Andriy, for great presentation. Was really pleased to see you today.
Pleasure mine.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.